welcome you all with my love and respect. Today's topic subject is from words to silence. Actually, we can't speak anything about silence. The moment we speak, we disturb the silence. I'll try to speak few words. How to create that silence in us, which is vibrant and living. You should understand one thing. When I use the word silence, I don't mean soundlessness. Soundlessness is negative silence. When I use the word silence, I mean a living, vibrant silence. Not silence of graveyard. The silence of an enlightened master. Silence of a graveyard is totally different from silence of an enlightened master. An enlightened person's silence is vibrant, living, alive. When Jesus says, "Be still and know that I am truth," he means only this silence, the silence of enlightenment. Be still and know that I am truth. When you are really still, you will know that you are the truth. And you will know you and he are not two different things. You are just one and the same. You merge with him. Real unity happens in you. You start experiencing the same energy inside your being. You start experiencing the Christ consciousness in you. A small story. Once a person goes to an enlightened master of Zen Buddhism, a great enlightened master of Zen Buddhism. A disciple goes and asks him, "Master, do the enlightened people speak?" Master says, "No, enlightened ones never speak. If they speak, be very clear, they don't know." He asks, "Oh, it means they keep silent. They'll be silent. They won't speak." Again he says, "No, they will not be in silence. They can't keep quiet. If they are not talking, be very clear, they don't know." Disciple was puzzled, just like you are. What will they be doing? You say they will neither talk or keep quiet. What will they do? Master says beautifully, they will sing. Their silence will be so vibrant, so alive. The very silence will be singing. It will be radiating. Wordlessness cannot be silence. Soundlessness cannot be silence. It is negative silence. It's okay once in a while, good to be silent, but the silence of an enlightened master is totally different. To enter into that, you need to go beyond words. Words and silence. You should grasp this both to realize the silence of an enlightened master. An ordinary silence, which we understand, which is wordlessness, is not enough. The wordlessness should happen in your being. When you enter into that silence, your whole being starts radiating. You start singing. When I say you start singing, not only through your mouth, your whole body starts singing. You radiate a different grace. Your very walking will be a dancing. Your very movements will be graceful. Just your presence will be a blessing. When you enter into that silence, just your very presence in the planet Earth will be a blessing. Just your air, your space will heal. That itself will radiate so much of energy, so much of life, so much of light. You can touch and feel the God in the presence of man who has experienced God. When you really go deep into that silence, to experience what Christ means by the word, be still and know that I am the truth. You enter into the Christ consciousness. You try to explain what are the obstacles, why we are not able to experience that silence. The first thing, we don't trust we can also experience that silence. We always think, this is not for me. I may not be able to have it. Again and again, we postpone by thinking, it is not for me. I may not be able to achieve. I have seen people finding out their own reasons. Somebody came and told me the other thing. I am born and brought up in the West. How can I become enlightened, Swamiji? I said, who said enlightenment is the copyright of Easterners? Wrong. You can't have copyright for enlightenment. You can have copyright for pizza. You can have copyright for food. You can have copyright for cars. You can have copyright for light, but not for enlightenment. It's the property of the whole universe. It is your birthright. Please be very clear. It is just your birthright. The silence, what I am speaking, or the enlightenment about which I am expressing, is your birthright. First thing, you don't have to think, I am not qualified. In the East, again, women come and ask me, oh, you are women, how can we become enlightened? Again, wrong idea. Actually, for women, there are more chance because they are, by nature, they are passive. By their own nature, they are loving, caring. For them, the possibility is more. For them to receive and express, radiate that silence and energy, the possibility is more. Somebody goes to a great enlightened master in South India and he asks that master's name is Ramana Maharshi. I am born and brought up in his place. He goes and asks him, Bhagavan means, oh God, can I become enlightened? Bhagavan says, yes, surely you can become. The disciple asks, what is the qualification? Bhagavan says, are you alive? Disciple says, yes, I am alive. That's why I am here. That is enough. That is the qualification. You can become enlightened. If you are alive, that is enough. We have all the qualifications to become enlightened. No other qualification is necessary. Next thing, we always have guilt about ourselves. We don't respect ourselves. Jesus says beautifully, love thy neighbors as you love thyself. But the problem is we don't even love ourselves. How to love the neighbors? We don't respect ourselves. Beautifully was singing. Let us accept ourselves as we are. Let us love ourselves as we are. But we neither respect ourselves nor love ourselves. That is the reason we think this silence or enlightenment experience is not for us. We postpone. We have a deep guilt about ourselves. We have some idea about how the life should be, and we try to recreate or reproduce our imagination into reality. When we are not able to, we create a guilt. It goes on and on. It's a vicious circle. We continuously disrespect ourselves. When you want to measure a strength of a chain, you always measure based on the weakest link, the strength of the weakest link. When you want to measure, when you want to know the strength of a chain, what do you do? The weakest link's strength. We first check the strength of the weakest link. Based on that, we know the strength of a chain. When we try to measure the strength of our life, of our being, again we try to use the same logic. We try to measure ourselves based on our weakest moments. That is what I say wrong. When you wanted to measure the strength of a chain, you have to go and measure the strength of the weakest link. But you can't do that same thing when you measure the strength of your life. When you measure the strength of your life, your being, your mind, based on your weakest link, you do a big mistake. Whenever you think about yourself, you always measure yourself only based on your failures and your low energy moments, low energy moods, your wrong decisions. Whenever you are going to take a new step, you remember only all your past wrong steps and mistakes. You wanted to be careful. And you measure yourself only based on your all past mistakes. You don't even remember the good things which you have done or the right decisions which you made. All we remember is only past mistakes, not the positive decisions, right decisions. We need to understand our strength, the strength of our being should be measured only based on the positive decisions which we made, not on the negative decisions which we made. The more you remember the negative decisions or your mistakes, the more you create a guilt. And one thing you should understand, guilt will again and again attract the same bad incidences in our life. It's like pain will attract the pain, money will attract the money, joy will attract the joy. If you are joyful, you attract joyful people around you. You create a beautiful community around you. You create a blissful group around you. If you are in suffering, if you have some depression, naturally you attract only that type of people around you. You attract people who are abusing you, who give you pain, who torture you. You only feel comfortable with them. It is you who decide. When we measure ourselves as a low person, when we create a deep guilt in ourselves, naturally you attract only that type of incidences, that type of persons, that type of situations in your life. If you tune your TV to the CNN, you will see the news. If you tune your TV to some other news, some other channel, you will see the other programs. Same way, if you tune your mind to the positive attitude, to the positive things, you will start seeing blissful people, you will start meeting blissful friends, you will start facing the blissful situations, you will start creating a blissful life. When you do the other way, you will be seeing the people who create more depression in you, who abuse you, who disturb you, who create more and more bondage for your life. It is we who decide So don't think that the silence of an enlightenment is not possible for me in the life. People always come and ask me, Swamiji, what you say is really beautiful. It makes sense. But tell me some practical method. The moment you ask, the moment you say the word practical, you already decided what I am saying is impractical. The very understanding and the courage, what he says is practical, I will express it in my life is more than enough. Usually, we neither respect ourselves nor trust we can have the experience of that silence and enlightenment. First thing, understand you can. You are eligible. Everyone is entitled to enter into the kingdom of God, enter into the divine space. Every one of us are eligible. God cannot send us out. Be very clear. There is a beautiful story. There was a king in India. He was a great egoistic. His ego has gone to such an extent, he started telling, I can do everything what God does. I am greater than God. And if somebody objects to his view, immediately he will tell them, kill him. So he started claiming he is almost a God. There was some enlightened master in that village, nearby village. He came to the capital and he heard about the whole story. He just wanted to teach a lesson to the king. He went to the court and started praising the king. Oh king, you are equivalent to God, you are God, all those things. King started feeling so happy. He said, you are the right person. Come on. Teach us all the truth, whatever you realized. The master said, King, I have to tell you one important thing. There are some things which you can do, even God cannot do. Now the king is just floating. He said, come on, tell me, what is that? I can do, God cannot do. Master says, King, if you are angry with somebody, you can send him out of your kingdom, but God cannot. You can send him out of your kingdom, but God cannot. He cannot send us out of his kingdom. So be very clear, he cannot send us out of his kingdom. It is our birthright. Kingdom of God, the enlightenment, the vibrant silence is our birthright. Second thing, we need to understand, we think we have a wrong, weird ideas about this enlightenment. People come and tell me, Swamiji, if I become enlightened, will all my desires be fulfilled? Whatever I think will come true. Be very clear, that will be a big punishment. And really tell you, just because of his compassion, God never fulfills our prayers. If he fulfills all our prayers, he will make our whole life mess. He will make our whole life mess. It is out of his compassion he fulfills few prayers. And out of his great compassion, he avoids some prayers. Please be very clear. It is just out of his great compassion, sometimes he never fulfills our desires. Because we don't even know the after effect or side effects of those desires. Without even knowing the after effects or side effects of those desires, we start hankering for it. We start asking for it. We believe God can give, but we don't believe God has got little intelligence when to give. That is where the problem starts. A small story. One pseudo-master means a man who is not enlightened, just an intellectual, started preaching, claiming he is an enlightened, created more disciples. Of course, a pseudo person can imitate beautifully. Original masters will never look like masters. That is why they are continuously crucified, stoned, poisoned. Original masters will be they will be original. They will not be acting or imitating like somebody. They will be themselves. It's very difficult to recognize somebody original. But somebody pseudo, you can easily think he is a master because he will be imitating. He will be following. He will give you an image, clear-cut idea. Original person will be so rebellious, such an alive energy. It's very difficult to understand the original person. This guy, a pseudo person, he started making a lot of disciples. Many disciples gathered around him. One day, suddenly he died. His closest disciples, two disciples, they thought, how can we live without our master? They also committed suicide. All three of them reached the other world, big beautiful gates. All the three of them standing in front of that gates. The master says, pseudo master, you see, I promised you all the heaven. Now I brought you here. I deliver the things which I promise. Come on, let's go inside. He knocked at the door. The security person opened. All the three entered inside. Beautiful place. Such a wonderful place. Whatever they want, it is there. Then again the master says, look at this. I promised you paradise. Now I have delivered. See, I do what I say. They went round. The security person said, sir, whatever you want, you can have here. Please just order. They started ordering whatever they want. Immediately it is delivered. And no gap between the thought and action, between the desire and reality. Simply they ask, it is delivered. All the three started living kingly life, the best palaces, best food, beautiful women, whatever they want. They had everything. Anything they ask, immediately it is delivered. But we don't understand usually one important thing. If we get everything, whatever we want, immediately we enter into a space called depression of success. Depression of success. As long as you have hopes, as long as your hopes are not completely fulfilled, you have hope. The moment your hopes are fulfilled, you are hopeless. We enter into the space of hopelessness. This person, these three, whatever they wanted, everything is answered, fulfilled. After 1 week, they got fed up, tired, bored, because they have everything. What to do now? They lost the taste for life. They went to the security staff. Please do one small favor. Just open the window to the world, our old world. We will just see that world so that we will gain a little more taste and we will have little desires. We can come back and enjoy this world. Because now we are fed up. Security said, okay, welcome, please come. He opened the window and looked at the world. They saw how the world is suffering, how the world is going on, how people are struggling even to achieve small things. Now again they got interest about the life, about the things. They got the desires. They got back their desires. Then they started again living. It went on, went on, went on again for one more month. After one more month, again they are fed up. Now they are lost. A big confusion. All the three went to the security staff again and asked, "Sir, can you do us one favor? Can you open the door of hell so that we can see how the people are suffering there? Based on that, seeing that, we will have a little more desire. We can once more start enjoying." First they saw this world, so they got a little more desire, started enjoying. Now they wanted to see the hell, so that they will have a little inspiration to enjoy. Security staff, he laughed and said, "Where do you think you are living? You are in hell." Please be very clear. If all your desires are answered, if all your desires are fulfilled, you are in hell. You can't experience the bliss of desirelessness. Person who thinks enlightenment is fulfilling all his desires is doing a big mistake. Enlightenment is going beyond desires, not fulfilling all the desires. Fulfilling all the desires is again nothing but a hell. When you become enlightened, you go beyond the desires. The bliss of desirelessness happens to you. By fulfilling all the desires, you will never achieve the state of desirelessness. You will never be able to achieve the state of desirelessness. You can achieve the state where you are not able to desire anymore, the depression. But only by reaching towards this enlightenment, you experience the bliss of beyond desires. First thing, we should start trusting we can achieve, we are qualified. Next thing, not only we are qualified, we have to drop all our wrong ideas about enlightenment. First, you have to drop all wrong ideas about yourself, that you are not qualified. You have to drop that wrong idea. Next, you have to drop all the wrong ideas about the enlightenment. That if this happens, that will be, if that happens, this will be. No. If you can drop the wrong ideas about yourself and about the enlightenment, both will become one and the same. Yourself will become enlightened. As long as you have wrong idea about yourself and the enlightenment, you keep both from a distance. The moment you drop the wrong ideas about yourself, the wrong ideas about enlightenment, you start experiencing that you are enlightened. You are in that silence. You are in that experience. The silence of enlightenment is a living, vibrant silence. Living, vibrant energy. It is heartbeat of the absolute, heartbeat of the existence. When I say the word silence, I mean it is the heartbeat of the spiritual being, the ultimate, the divine, what we call in the name of God. I pray to the ultimate energy, the God, to shower His blessings upon us and to make us experience the silence, to lead us from words to silence. Let Him give the ultimate experience of that living silence, eternal bliss, Nityananda. Thank you.